Great Scott. Great Scott. Great Scott.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Great Scott. I'm Scotty V. Thanks for watching. So a few days ago, I guess we got a look at the covers for the upcoming Doomsday Clock storyline involving Geoff Johns. And of course, we knew about this, and I think we knew that it involved the Watchmen, and I think most of us were like, okay, great. Or at least I was. Am I the only one who really doesn't care that much about the Watchmen? The Watchmen were kind of an offshoot, kind of a goof, kind of a thing that, Moore was saying, how about some reality infused in our comic books? And I guess some other books took off in the reality type direction after that. And, it was kind of a very depressing look at what superheroes might be in the real world of, I guess, the Reagan era and how crappy things were and the possibility of nuclear destruction of the earth. And that being said, I also thought that maybe it was possible when I heard that we were getting a story called the Doomsday Clock, that this was actually going to include, Doomsday, since it's the DC characters, and we see with the release of these covers that Superman is on one of them, pretty prominently displayed, of course, with Blue Guy behind him. I call him Naked Blue Guy usually, but I think in the comics he has a little Speedo covering his area, which is always a fascinating look. Although not as fascinating as when you stand there in all your giant glory with your peen hanging down. But never thought I would say peen on this vidcast, but there we have it. As times change, so does what I might be saying on this show. But so I thought maybe Doomsday would be involved, and I don't know, am I the only one who didn't really know what the Doomsday Clock was? I looked it up, mainly because I wanted to see if there was any information about the storyline, so I looked up the Doomsday Clock thinking I was going to get information on this upcoming Geoff Johns project from DC Comics, and what I got were actual articles based on a real-life existing Doomsday Clock. And I think somewhere in the back of my mind I've heard about it before, and I love science, and I love technology, and I love reality as opposed to fantasy, but when I read that the Doomsday Clock is this hypothetical idea, a symbol that was created by scientists to tell us how close we are to global destruction of the human race, I feel like they themselves have mixed some fantasy right in with what they call science. And why I say that is there's a hypothetical minute hand that's approaching midnight, and the closer it gets to midnight, the closer we are hypothetically to destroying ourselves as a race. It usually has to do with nuclear arms, but they have recently introduced environmental changes such as global warming and the idea that we're burning fossil fuels that will disappear, and that someday maybe even all of our natural water sources will be gone as well, and that also will be cause for the destruction of the human race. The problem with this is, yes, they collect data and things, but someone could push the button tomorrow and then we all nuclear destroy each other, or someone could never push the button. So it's all hypothetical, and generally science doesn't rely on people imagining the possibility of someone maybe pushing a button someday. And of course, global warming, and that's going to take years and years and years, so it's not going to happen tomorrow. So recently, I guess, they moved the clock to 2.5 minutes, and it had been set to 3 minutes for a very, very long time. And the lowest it's ever been set is 17 minutes. There haven't been better times in our history where the whole of humanity wasn't on the brink of being destroyed. But anyway, so when I look that up, I find out that it's a real thing that's not really real, that's imaginary and hypothetical. But that scientists, some group of scientists actually monitor global changes and then decide whether or not the minute hand goes back or forward, and it's moved many, many times since it was invented in the late 40s, I think. But the point is, I realize now, there's a clock on the comic book with Superman, with Blue Man, and there's another cover, and then now there's a third cover that has Rorschach's symbol face with the Trinity symbols on it. So it's a mixture. It's Watchmen, it's DC superheroes, and I'm sure others, not just the Trinity, and of course the Doomsday Clock, the idea that we as a human species are on the brink of destruction, which of course harkens back to the original Watchmen story, a series of books that came together for like 12 issues, but it wasn't meant to be they weren't meant to be ongoing characters. When you make a movie of it, it's fine, it's a one-shot deal. Now they've combined them into the DC universe, and they're going to be somehow ongoing characters. It just doesn't really fit with the idea of what the DC universe is, but the story apparently is going to have more to do with humanity's imminent destruction someday, and the interference of the DC heroes in stopping that, I suppose. And then, of course, the Watchmen somehow involved because they're always watching. But I don't care about the Watchmen. Am I the only one? And hopefully I have helped out some of you who maybe, like me, didn't realize that there was a real imaginary thing that's hypothetical that scientists came up with years ago that is actually called the Doomsday Clock. Thanks everybody for watching, and remember... you